Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 15 of Out of Left Field. I am Kevin. I'm here with Jonathan. Jonathan, how did we follow us?
Hey Kevin. So we are up on all the socials, out of left field on Facebook, X, Instagram. We have a Substack. The handles for X and Instagram are Outa LF Pod. Um, am I missing anything there? Facebook, X, Instagram, Substack. I think that's about
I
it. Yeah,
think you got everything.
I think so.
As I gather through, yes,
And
all of
yeah,
them.
and these
YouTube. Did you say
and
YouTube?
yeah,
Okay.
I was just remembering that the episodes live on the Out of Left Field YouTube page. Then that's where our video episodes live, and from there we share both our video and our audio versions on our social pages, and our audio versions live on Spreaker. That's all.
All right. And of course, we will be dividing. We talk Canadian baseball, Mariners, Blue Jays, Major League Baseball. We'll cut up the Mariners stuff, cut up the Blue Jays stuff, of course, as well. Um, we've been away for a little while. We both have had things happen. Um, I guess for those that have missed it on the news, of course, it was on July 7th that and I'll share this just from a personal experience. I was doing the Flames season finale on Shifts and Pucks with Dan and Matt, kind of wrapping up all of the Flames news. Of course, they had the Simone Nemec extension going on, and we were just shooting the breeze after the podcast when I got a message of a meeting called at around 10 o'clock Tuesday morning, and my face was turned quite white with that. And uh, yeah, we learned on Tuesday morning that Rogers has shut down stations in Vancouver, which included News 1130, where I worked as a traffic anchor, and Sportsnet 650, which of course is the sports station out in Vancouver, as well as 960 in Calgary, and 660 News as well in Calgary, as well as stations in Halifax and Kitchener. I do think it's important to mention them because that they are impacted as well. It's was a personal tough blow, but it was an industry tough blow as well. So that was one kind of process to deal with in and of itself. And then on July 11th, um, got the well. Then the next Tuesday, I got the news about my mom passing away, uh, and that was another bit of a. It's been still a thing to process in and of itself as well. To connect it to baseball, because there is a connection. My mom was a fantastic pitcher and baseball player. And I do remember one of my memories is watching her pitch and just watching the crowd, Jonathan, just pause because it was fastball. So she did the wind. Well, when we were talking, we've been talking about doing that. You mentioned to me about the side armor podcast. My mom was of course, with the underhand, could do that, but did that, of course, with softball slash fastball, and she could pitch, and it just when she pitched, there was like a pause in the crowd, like it was just that's something I just remember. Like Pete, she could hit, she could pitch, she was a great athlete. She won the Saskatchewan Northeast Softball Championship as well as the gold and silver medals at the Saskatoon Dominion Track and Field Championship back in 1956. She broke the discus record. And um, both being a great mom and caring for my dad, who's having health issues and caring for my sister's kids, her grandkids, and babysitting all across uh, the all across kind of in the neighborhood as well. It's just a very kind soul, and yeah, it has. It's just again, thank you for all of the messages. It has not been easy. I I'm not going to claim it has been. Trying to develop some sort of new normal and normal at the same time. There's just been a lot to process. So that's been part of why I've been away. But I that's a little I don't I know I'm in radio, Jonathan, or former radio person. I'm not a person that likes a lot of the spotlight on me. So I'm going to turn it to you um, because you have been busy as well, and um, you've had a very busy. I saw your social media game 11, game 12, game 13.
Yeah.
So you have been busy. So tell everybody where you have been um, the last little while.
Yeah, and I mean, I just want to acknowledge you for a minute there first. We talked about it a little bit before we started. Just we're partners in this thing, and so we took a little time off, but bigger things come first. So we're in your corner with that. But yeah, took a little trip last week. I live in Victoria now, but took a trip home to Okotoks, Alberta, and they were hosting the first ever Baseball Canada 19U Club National Championship, which in concept is kind of a cross between the Road to Omaha Division One college playoff system and the Memorial Cup in the Canadian Hockey League. Basically, it was the top 16 19 and under academy programs across Canada. So it created what was probably the best concentration of Canadian college and draft prospects to compete in one event in Canada. That was, and yeah, you were talking about my social media. There was 4 games a day for the first 4 days at 2 different fields. So there's 8 games a day. And in my 4 days there, I managed to make it to, I believe it was 16 games. Plus, they had 2 Western Canadian League summer ball games as well. So it was a fun few days, seeing a lot of prospect types in that tournament. And it was the first one, so it only has room to grow from what we saw this year. Talent like the Vauxhall Baseball Academy from Southern Alberta. They have Will Zielinski, who was hitting for them, and he got drafted in the 20th round as a pitcher. In their recently completed draft by Detroit. Sounds like he's going to UCSB and is not going to sign. They also have Easton Cantura, who's a University of Miami commit. The Okotoks Dogs, who won the tournament, have 8 Division I commits on their roster, including schools like Coastal Carolina, who's turned into a powerhouse in recent years. And with this being the first one, players that just kind of putting in perspective the kind of prospects that are in this tournament. If this tournament were to be running before this, you would have seen Adam Mako, Tristan Peters, Eric Zabrowski, Michael Soroka, the Naylor brothers, Tugboat Wilkinson, and there's a bunch more, but they're trying to create a top-tier Canadian competition in Canada while also creating scouting opportunities for the players to play in front of scouts, and for the younger players who still need college commitments, play in front of concentration of college coaches as well. So that was really fun. And as I kind of alluded to, we had the draft as well while we were away. And again, on the Canadian angle, staying on the prairies, Carter Beck. He is an outfielder from Indiana State, from Cardiff, Saskatchewan, and played his last 2 college summers with the Saskatoon Berries of the Western Canadian League, and was actually signed to play for them again this year, but did not with his draft prospects rising. He was the first Canadian off the board in this year's draft, going 26th overall in the first round to Atlanta. That is a really significant pick. That is a Canadian, a Saskatchewan player who played 2 years of course, goes to a D1 program in the States, but chose to come back to play his last 2 summers at home in Saskatchewan, in Saskatoon, and gets drafted first round fresh out of the Saskatoon Berries. So that's a really exciting pick. That really illustrates the growth of Canadian baseball and that league in particular. So my allegiance is with Okotoks in that league, but in this case, a major hat tip to Coach Joe Carnahan, who runs the Berries program, for identifying Carter Beck up to 3 years ago now and being part of his path. The next Canadian off the board was Sean Duncan, a left-handed pitcher out of the Langley Blaze program in the BC Premier League. He was a Vanderbilt commit and was drafted 63rd to the Yankees. And I already off the top talked about Will Zielinski. I saw him throw in a summer ball game for the Victoria Harbor Cats 2 weeks ago. And then 1 week ago, I was watching him hit for the Foxhall Academy in the tournament. So that's really cool. And something that we will probably talk about more in the next couple of weeks, the next big event on the Canadian baseball calendar is the Canadian Futures Showcase, which is run by the Toronto Blue Jays as a college and draft eligible showcase event for Canadian players. Typically, of course, at the Rogers Centre, but this year, due to scheduling conflicts in Toronto, the event is being hosted in Vancouver at Nat Bailey Stadium coming up in August. So we'll probably end up talking about that a little bit more as we get closer to that. But yeah, that was a really fun couple of weeks. Fun week for me and a really big couple of weeks for Canadian baseball.
Well, good for you. Is this something that someone could go back and watch?
Yes. The feature games were, and I will look it up. It was on HN Live, which is a sports streaming service. And the feature games were called by Peter Labardius. And I'd have to scramble to find it right now, but I'm sure they do have the archives still up. It was broadcast by hnlive.ca. And if you go to their site, I'm sure they still have the archives up, but they had a really good HD multi-camera broadcast at both fields, and they had Lou doing the feature games, and they had a couple of other broadcasters they brought in. So yeah.
All right. Well, maybe we'll put that in the show notes as well, just so people can check that out. But yeah, that's the next big thing there. We'll have to figure that out. Of course, living in BC, we can probably check this out. And then also, the Little League World Series is coming up as well here, so we'll see who represents Canada for that as well. So, yeah, that good for you. Good on HN Live, and good on Peter and the crew, and yeah, good that you were out in Okotoks for that. And we'll look forward to see what is going on with all of those guys as well. And Well, we'll transition over to the Mariners first. There is some news that came out of Seattle on Thursday, as of this recording, and that was the firing of the assistant hitting coach Bobby Magallanes, who has been a pair with Kevin Seitzer, the current hitting coach since his days in Atlanta back in 2021. The uh, yeah, so Ed Paparella is the minor league hitting coordinator. He is going to join the team for the rest of the season. A few key stats here to bring this into perspective is the Mariners are last in average and slugging in the major leagues. Average 229, slugging 377. And I believe, I don't have the exact number. I didn't get a chance to look this up. I believe they have the worst record in baseball when a team does not have a home run. So I'm going to look that up while we chit chat here. So it's the offense has not been good in Seattle all year. Of course, that was the big thing coming in is there was the offensive lineup. It was not nobody was expecting Cal Raleigh to hit 60 home runs, but Cal was not at supposed to be hitting under 200 as coming into the All Star break either. So that's been one thing. Of course, the injury to Brendan Donovan hasn't helped, but it's just been a lot of inconsistency from everybody, quite frankly. Julio inconsistent, Naylor inconsistent, Rosarena inconsistent. Um, just a lot of inconsistency, and leads to it just led to like a very it's just led to very poor offensive opportunities, and it's put a huge strain on the starting pitching staff and the bullpen to be more dominant than they really need to be. And it's not that they're getting quality starts. I don't think the pitching staff in general has been, I mean, there's been some struggles, no question, but I think there's been a lot of good as well. But it's just because you're, as a plane flies by, as like when you're not scoring runs, it's you have to do everything else right, and you have to keep the scores low to be in games, and it's just hard. It's just a hard way to compete in baseball when you're not hitting. So this is an interesting change. I think there's a lot of people asking a lot of questions about other people on the staff, and Kevin Zeitzer's name has come up. Dan Wilson's name has come up. There's a lot of the social media is like, why this guy and not this guy? I think we need to just wait and see what happens in terms of all of that, because maybe there's other changes coming at this point, and this is just one. We'll have to see. So, yeah, that's the story. What happened here? As they came back from the All-Star break. They went through Miami and Tampa. We're going to have a conversation about Tampa with Toronto here momentarily. But that was a rough trip. But they split the series against they did win the series against the Giants, but they lose the series against the Reds. So they are now in a very big series, probably their biggest series so far of the year, against the Texas Rangers in Texas, where they're a half game behind the Rangers in the AL West, and they're two behind the very hot Boston Red Sox for the wild card. So a fairly significant series here. It's, you know, I don't think it would be great. I don't think it would be great to lose it. I think it would be terrible to sweep it. It would be great for a sweep if you can win the series. I think it puts you in a better space. But the Mariners are sort of in this teeter totter part of this trade deadline as we're like, as of this recording, about what are we, 10 days away as of now? 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 10 days away. I mean, I don't know if whether the Mariners are in the buy sell mode, but I mean, this, or like, it's an interesting time here. So it is an important series to see where the Mariners go at the trade deadline for sure.
And we've spent a lot of oxygen this season talking about the regression of Vlad on the Blue Jays. What do you attribute Cal Raleigh's season to? Like, obviously, there was going to be a regret. You're not going to repeat 60 home runs, but hitting 160 with 10 home runs, that's a shocking season in the negatives for him as well. And just like it's hard for the Jays to succeed with Vlad doing nothing in the power department. I imagine it's hard for the Mariners to do a whole lot with Cal Raleigh hitting 163. So what are your ideas on what's going on there?
Well, I thought Angie Mentic made an amazing, really good point on Wednesday afternoon with the Mariners Reds game. Is Raleigh, so it's 5-3 in the bottom of the seventh, and Raleigh has a chance to make something happen, and he's out. And she made this point, and I'm not opposed to film study. I'm not opposed to analytics. But I think at some point you just got to play. And I think for Cal, I wonder if he's just focused too much on the iPad. And that's where's her point. It's just play ball. Like, sure, I understand film, but you have to play ball. And I feel like the Mariners, and maybe this is, I wonder if this is a little Blue Jay too, but I think the Mariners are just focusing too much on iPad and making sure your stance is right. All of that is important, but they're not having fun. And I know they're professional baseball players here, Jonathan, but they're not having fun.
Yeah.
And it was pretty clear to me when they were in Florida without Julio. There's just the energy is absolutely dead. And when Julio came back, you could he does the walk off on Saturday against the Giants. It's a sac fly, but you could just feel the difference when he's in the lineup. There's just a lack of energy. I think Cal is trying too hard. I think Cal is trying too hard. I think that's the big thing as well. I mean, Monday against the Reds, the Reds chose to intentionally walk Dominic Canzone to face Cal Raleigh, and Cal Raleigh made them pay for that. It was a grand slam that put that game away. He still got it.
Yeah.
He's still got the power. It's just he's trying to do too much, and I think everybody's trying to overcompensate for the lack of offense on this team. And I still think Cal Raleigh is an elite player. I still think Cal Raleigh is the core of the team. Just trying to do too much. I think that's
Do
the
you do you think last year elevated internal expectations, maybe from the team or just within himself, to expect more of himself than maybe is realistic? Maybe he's putting too much pressure on himself to repeat something like that last year and chasing numbers.
Yeah, I think that's a significant possibility too. I think he's just trying to do too much. Um, just I think he just yeah, the I mean, this is new for Mariners in a lot of ways because they haven't been a World Series contender since 2000. So this is a new generation of players going through a new set of expectations. But um,
Uh,
they're running out of runway here, for sure. This is a kind of it's a teeter totter series, as I said, for the Mariners against the Rangers coming up here. So um,
and yeah, and you mentioned the trade deadline a minute ago. What do you think they should do? Because we talked before about them having a surplus of starting pitching, and as of now, they don't have enough offense, I think, to be considered serious. So, do you think they go out and use some of that pitching to get a bat, or do they
well,
think they can
Ken
get one of
Rosenthal
their?
reported. Sorry, Ken Rosenthal reported today that the Mariners are listening on Emerson Hancock or open to trading Emerson Hancock. Um, I think Ken Rosenthal and I think the insiders have reported that Luis Castillo is not going to get them anything at this point. So some are suggesting if you combine a Hancock and a Luke Raley, maybe there's something there. Um, yeah, there's almost too much pitching, not enough hitting, so I could see that. Um, I'm gonna toss another name in this conversation here, because he's been the epitome of the Mariners this year, and it's Randy Arozarena. Of course, you remember Jonathan from the Blue Jays series that Friday night that he challenged two pitches within the first three, which cost the Mariners that Friday night game against the Blue Jays.
Yep.
There was the game in Tampa on the Saturday where it was a foul ball and he made no effort to catch a very catchable foul ball, but he steals bases, he hits balls. There's times where Randy Arozarena is fantastic. There's times that Randy Arozarena is just not quite there. And you saw the epitome of that against in that Blue Jays series. And he is a free agent. I don't believe he's coming back. I wonder if that is a guy that they end up making a baseball trade for. Um, I don't know what that looks like, but that's a guy I've been wondering a lot about. Um, and I mean, you can make a pretty significant, maybe there's a pretty significant trade with somebody here. I mean, you look at this wild. We'll touch on the standings here. Playoff. There's not a lot of teams that are going to be in sell mode. So I think that baseball trades are what's going to happen at the deadline. And I've been wondering about Randy Arozarena. I Of course, at the beginning of after the World Baseball Classic, there was that tension between Cal Raleigh and Randy Arozarena. I wonder. It hasn't been talked about a lot in Seattle, but I can't help to wonder if there's some tension in that locker room that has been festering throughout the year. Um, I think there's a lot. Yeah, that's the guy I'm really wondering about. I mean, I don't. I think Not sure how I feel about. I guess it depends on what you get for Emerson Hancock. But you do have Kate Anderson coming up. You do have other pitchers coming up, so I could see it. So I mean, I think the Mariners are going to do something at trade deadline, but I think also they do need to get everything kind of together here before that trade deadline, because their schedule is is not exactly going to be friendly coming through the next little bit here. I'm just pulling this up because they got the Rangers this week, and then after that, they've got as we continue through here, they've got the Dodgers. So it's a 4-game series in Texas, a 3-game series against the Dodgers. Then they got the Twins, the Tigers, and the Rays on a 9-game homestand. Then they go to the Yankees, Houston, and Milwaukee. Home to Chicago and Philly, and then end of August in Toronto, and then Boston. So it's not. I mean, there's two fairly winnable series. Everything else after this is going to be a grind. Maybe 3, depending on your perspective. So this is you got to make hay here. That's basically it.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to toss this out here. Cole Young might be the team's MVP this year. I mean, it's 248, 13 home runs, 48 RBIs. It's not spectacular, but I feel like he's been the most consistent Mariner all year in terms of just his play. Um, he's made some pretty. He's made some errors, but he's also made some key key outs at second base, and him and Emerson have been a pretty good tandem there. But I mean, just kind of the guy. He seems like the guy that seems to be getting the most important hits um, this year. So I'm just pulling up the stat leaders here for Seattle. And was thinking about this weekend. I'm like, you can't give it to Cal because of his number. He's hitting under 200. Randy Rosarena has been too inconsistent. Julio has been dealing with concussions. Cole Young is 4th on the team in home runs with 13. Actually, well, it's a tie for first with Canzo and Rayleigh Rodriguez for home runs, which is 15, and then he has 13. And then for average, I mean, it's not like we're talking about the MLB batting championship here. There's nobody even close to 300. I'm just giving the here. Hang on a second. Young is actually he's second last, so that's not a really good example. But I just kind of feel like he's been the most consistent player. And I kind of wanted to put that out there as if he's maybe at least an unsung hero.
When did he get called up? He didn't start the year, did he?
Yes, he did. He did start the year. I think you're thinking
Okay.
about Cole Emerson was the one that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Yeah. So. I mean, with the Brendan Donovan injury, with J.P. Crawford going to third, I think that's another thing that's been kind of another adjustment. Yeah, there's just been a lot going on in Seattle, and I kind of feel like Cole has been the most consistent. He's been the most consistent player for the Mariners for the most part this year. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the Mariners at this point. Yeah, he got called up last year into May, so he's been up for over a year. But yeah, wanted to confirm that. That's the Mariners story. Unless there's anything else we need to discuss.
If you're good with it, I guess I'll switch over to Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Off-field stuff first. Last week was a somber weekend for the Blue Jays. Last Friday night into Saturday morning, overnight, former Blue Jays All-Star closer Duane Ward passed away overnight in his hotel room in Toronto of what they're describing as natural causes. He was in Toronto with many of their alumni from the 92-93 World Series teams, unveiling the Joe Carter statue that commemorates their back-to-back championships. Wardo was a visible member of the Blue Jays alumni, participating in the Blue Jays Super Camps, kids instructional camps, Challenger Baseball, and different initiatives with the Blue Jays alumni. Pitched for the Blue Jays from 1986 through 93, and then again in 95. Won the 2 World Series. The club leader in saves in a season with 45 for the 1993 team when he made the All-Star team. He was a bullpen combo before that with Tom Henke at the back end of their bullpen. 121 career saves, over 100 innings out of the bullpen 5 years in a row from 1988 to 92. On that news, he attended an alumni dinner on the Friday night and then did not make the ceremony on the Saturday. And the Blue Jays, of course, did all of the proper commemoration for him after the news broke. So kind of tough to put into the right words, but a sad moment for the Blue Jays family. Todd Stottlemyre did some media remembering Duane Ward, and you could hear how broken up he was with it being so fresh. So we pass on our thoughts and condolences to Duane Ward's family, friends, teammates. On the other part
But
of that,
just before we go on,
yeah,
can I say
yeah,
just a
yeah,
couple quick things
yeah,
here? Of course, I absolutely condolences for sure. He was elected to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in 2020. Of course, with COVID, they didn't induct him until June. I am stunned he's not in the Major League Hall of Fame. I think that is an absolute travesty to me. He had 45 saves in 1993. He was an All-Star in 1993. He's part of a back-to-back World Series. 121 saves and 452 appearances. I'm sorry, that's Hall of Fame numbers. That is a miss.
yeah,
One day we are going to have a long conversation about the Baseball Hall of Fame because
yeah,
I have some thoughts on the Baseball Hall of Fame and their sort of their elitism. But I think Duane Ward, it is a miss
yeah.
that Duane Ward is not in the Hall of Fame.
There's an argument to be made there for sure. And actually, just before we turn the page, I had a little bit of time myself with Duane Ward back when I was a young writer. I did a bunch of work for the Canadian Baseball Network, which is run by Bob Elliott out of Toronto, and from that had a few other opportunities, which included one time I was tasked with writing for the Blue Jays website when the Blue Jays Super Camp series came to Okotoks and ran kids camps. And as part of writing the report for the Blue Jays site, that meant talking to a handful of the alumni who were there, Lloyd Shaker Mosby was really good to me over the course of 2 or 3 years. Barfield was there, and I have a specific memory with Duane Ward, which is why I might have slipped up a moment ago and called him Wardo, but had a one-on-one chat with him, and being a young kid at the time, kind of being a little bit timid to be in the room with people with baseball cards like that. He was very kind to me, prepping that interview, and let me know in no uncertain terms that I was in that room because I deserved to be there. So he was very, very kind to me. Not to make this about me, but yeah, had a moment to remember him as well. So yeah, that weekend, as I alluded to, they were unveiling the Joe Carter statue outside the Rogers Center to commemorate the 92-93 back-to-back World Series champs. And that's something that I haven't been to the renovated Rogers Center, but I had been a few times to the original Skydome. And one of the things that always stood out to me when going to the Skydome, back then it was multi-purpose, and now it's baseball only. So it was more understandable back then, but still, the one thing that kind of stood out was no sense of history. And that's something that the best ballparks do really well. That's part of the baseball experience, is you should be smacked in the face with the sense of the club's history or the city's baseball history. I've been to Cincinnati, and it's phenomenal. I've been to Texas at the ballpark in Arlington. It was really good. San Francisco is amazing. In Toronto, they didn't have any of that. So this is a great step forward and a next step, and they've overhauled their facilities the last 5 years or so, and now they're putting the history piece in, which I think in baseball is very important. And so they have the statue up front of the stadium now, and they're unveiling in August. They've had the level of excellence, which is in essence the team's Hall of Fame caliber names are on the facing of the upper decks in the stadium, and this summer they are converting that into it's escaping me the term right now. It's level of excellence, and they're basically turning the names into an in-stadium museum. So more along the lines of a team Hall of Fame in the stadium, which I think has a lot of potential. So yeah, it was really cool last weekend to see that collection of the back-to-back teams back in Toronto. And bigger picture, I think that's a really good step forward for the Blue Jays making their history more tangible.
Yeah, I think you're right. Of course, like even if you go to T-Mobile, you still will see a Mariners list of historical players as well, going all the way back to their start back in 76, 77 as well. So, and now, of course, they have the Ichiro statue along with the Ken Griffey statue as well. So, yeah, I think it's great to have that sense. I mean, New York, the Yankees, you have that sense of place as well. That center field, you see the legends all back there. Fenway Park has, yeah, it's good that the Blue Jays are doing that, making it feel a little bit more at home. I think I agree with you.
Baseball, baseball is steeped in that stuff. And one of my many trips to Seattle, I have a picture of myself sitting in the Dave Niehaus, the statue in the outfield. And when the Blue Jays unveil their next phase, honoring their history, I would love to see a broadcaster's exhibit, monument, however it looks, honoring Tom Cheek, Jerry Howarth, and Buck Martinez. That would be great to see. But yeah, we could stay on that all night. But just finishing up the Blue Jays stuff or continuing on. Their first pick in the draft recently was Cole Carlin out of Arizona State. They didn't pick until the 39th pick. He was ranked by MLB as the 26th rated prospect in the draft, and I saw in a story members of the Blue Jays thought he might go as early as the late teens or the early 20s in the draft. They feel like they might have gotten value with their first pick and being a 3-year college arm from a major program that could be the type of guy that has a chance to arrive in Toronto quickly. But that's about it for the futures part of this. Trade deadline Blue Jays edition. They won today, and we're recording on Thursday night. So they're 9 games under 500, and they are in it. It's foregone conclusion that they are a seller at the deadline, and the talk centering primarily around Kevin Gausman. And news got out a couple of days ago that Kevin Gausman's no trade list is the Cincinnati Reds, the Brewers, the White Sox, Tigers, Mets, A's, Mariners, and Pirates. He has not had a good stretch, which is not helping his value if the Blue Jays do try to trade him. On June 13th, his ERA was 3.41, and as of today, it's 4.51. So not helping his value in a potential trade, but he's still the biggest piece the Blue Jays have to dangle. And I would think the Blue Jays, the way they're set up and the way they operate now, I think they're going to try to reboot to try to win again next year. But in that, for the Kevin Gausman discussion with that trade list, is there anybody? I think there's a few teams on there that we know he wouldn't go to. But is there anybody on that list that you see as a potential fit for Gausman?
I don't know why he wouldn't go to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Like this list is interesting. I don't know Kevin Gausman from a hole in the ground. Kind of understand the A's. Kind of understand the Mariners. Mets too. Yeah, the big one to me is it like Milwaukee would. It does not like they need. They have a lot of pitching, but they just need. You could use that veteran when you got a young guy like Mazeroski going there, especially when you're going into a playoff. Getting that veteran experience like Gausman would really help. If I'm Milwaukee, I'm calling Toronto saying, "Look, hey, we've got one of the best records in baseball.
Yeah.
Would you like really?"
Totally.
That one is to me interesting. There was always that talk, and there was some talk back in a couple of months ago, and I think we talked about the idea of Kevin Gausman for Sandy Alcantara. I don't know if that's still on the table or not. But I would think Miami could use, the Marlins could probably use him as well. Probably, I think, yeah, the White Sox probably could use him. A few teams could use Kevin Gausman for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree about the Brewers, and you said the name. I'm gonna bring up the White Sox for two of the Blue Jays names. The White Sox are a team that have had a remarkable turnaround this year compared to where they were a year ago and 2 years ago. So for their internal expectations, they've done a great job to this point. But obviously, they're not a finished product, and they are a very young team, short on playoff experience. So I see a fit there for two Blue Jays. I see a fit there for Gausman, and I see a fit there for George Springer. Springer's offense has picked up a little bit in the last couple of weeks. Maybe sensing that he needs to pick it up to uh, get some trade interest to try to get himself on a contender. But for a young team that hasn't been there yet, to get a position player like Springer who's been there, who has succeeded when he's been there, to, I don't know, be a bench bat. Even if he is a bench bat, um, to bring the presence in the room and the mentorship, I think would go a long way for the White Sox. Um, much the same as Gausman would be. And yeah, with Gausman and the Brewers, kind of a similar thing. You put Gausman on the Brewers, he can kind of be that older mentor for Mizorowski. So, yeah, with the White Sox, I see a potential fit there for Springer and Gausman.
Yeah. Also, wonder about Atlanta for both
Yeah,
for Gosman,
Atlanta
Springer.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Gausman's been there before, so
Yeah.
that would make sense. And Thopoulos, I'm sure there would be rapport there to make a trade with the Blue Jays. So, but yeah, they're I think their approach at this deadline and yeah, Shane Bieber has had two really good starts his last two times out, and the Blue Jays picked him up at the deadline last year when he was still not back from surgery, and I think we can agree that he came back too early in the name of that World Series push, which I still maintain was worth it. You got to Game 7 of the World Series. But he's much further down the line now. He's had a rough year, but he's been pitching for a while, and his last two have been really good. So I would imagine that there's multiple teams out there that think uh, that they can use Sheen Bieber down the stretch. So, yeah, those are probably the three relevant names for the Jays at the trade deadline to try to get something out of them. And they have a lot of win. They still have a lot of win now pieces in place. The organization is making bucket loads of money. They operate a $300 million payroll. Um, I imagine this is going to be an attempt at a reboot, and do try to bring in pieces that can help them win next year. Do they try to find a starting pitcher for the future? Do they try to find a center fielder with Dalton Varsho being done after this year and potentially another trade piece at the deadline? So I see this being an attempt at a reboot deadline for the Jays.
Okay, so this is sort of one of the things with the trade deadline conversations in hockey and in baseball that I sort of get a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but I have some hesitations because I'm one of those people that don't believe. I think sometimes the best trades that are made are the ones that aren't. Um, and I just don't know if the Blue Jays, should trade Shane Bieber. And I understand the Gausman conversation. The Bieber one for me, I don't know what the pitching situation is after Bieber, but it doesn't seem like there's like the bullpen. Mason Fluharty is pitching half of the games right now. And I know that I know that people are going to say it doesn't matter because you're not going to make the playoffs. I just don't know if you're going to get as much as you think for Shane Bieber. He's coming off Tommy John. He's okay. Pitching really well right now. I know you have Dylan Cease. I don't know what the prospect situation is. You probably will get a pitching prospect for Shane Bieber, but I wonder if that would not. I don't know if you're going to get as much as. I know I saw Blue Jays social media get all excited about, he won, he's going to get you a lot more. I'm not, I don't buy that. I don't.
I don't know if any of their pieces, Gausman, Bieber, Springer, I don't know if any of them are going to get you a lot, but I think any of them could get you one future piece that is a good prospect. I think, not everybody is going to be excited to go after Bieber, but like I said before, he's much further down the path of recovery and being back to something like he was in Cleveland. He's much further along the path than where he was when the Blue Jays traded for him. And I think there's going to be at least a team or a couple of teams out there that buys into the upside of what he would bring in a playoff run. I don't think you're getting a haul for any of these pieces, but I think you'll find a team out there that's willing to pay something for them.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm just not into. I understand that there's some drama and showmanship that people want with the trade deadline. I think, again, I'm just one of those people that believe sometimes the best trades made are the ones that aren't.
I mean, that with Gausman and Bieber, they're both gone, so you might as well get some. You might as well get something out of them, and if both of the.
Just before you move on, who's the Blue Jays starting pitching prospects? Who are you thinking they're going to bring up?
As far as like stopgap guys, just to get you through this year.
Is there a guy that we're going to look at in September? Is going to be a September call up that's going to get some starts?
I am not familiar with the Buffalo situation as far as starters. I'm sure they have somebody down there who's able to come up and give you a few starts in the last 6 weeks or so, or maybe part of the return in one of the trades is a 4A type starter who just gets you to the finish line this year. I think there's ways to fill in to bring in a couple of 4A type guys just to get you to the finish line.
Sure.
But I'm not as well versed on what they have in Buffalo at this point.
Yeah, totally fair. Thought I would ask, so.
Yeah, it's all good. And a couple more, I guess, kind of debate topics with the Blue Jays. We talked about the Mariners' offensive problems, and it's the same way with the Blue Jays this year, but probably worse. Of course, the marquee guy is Vlad Guerrero and his 6 home runs this year, which is crazy to say still. His last regular season home run at the Rogers Center was September 25th of last season. Last year, the Blue Jays were 5th in baseball in run scoring. As of this recording tonight, they are dead last in total runs scored. And declines like that never have one simple answer. It's always a bunch of things and a combination of things. But I want to go to the losses of Bo Bichette and Don Mattingly. Bo Bichette was the other guy in the lineup that could pair with Vlad, and you knew he could just hit. His thing was he had the ability to hit anybody. Elite pitching didn't matter. And it's maybe a combination of the skill set of both of the baseball players and the fact that Vlad and Bo came up together since they were teenagers, and they both kind of shouldered the expectation of the franchise together. And mentally, that probably helped both of them. And now one of the two isn't here, and it was put on Vlad to carry the offensive side of this franchise alone, basically, because their only other premier bat was gone. So I think that is part of the Vlad regression this year, trying to drive the bus all by himself. His team thing worked last year with pretty long at bats, good play discipline, pass it on to the next guy. It worked. But they also had a little bit more in the premier hitting department with Vlad and Bo, and then Addison Barger in the second half of the year was a legit power source. And so not getting Bo back, and then they failed to get Kyle Tucker in. I think the Blue Jays style of offense doesn't work without at least one more star bat. And it's been all year, it's been stunning to me how this entire team was pulling on the same rope all year last year. Last year, they were probably undermanned. And they still got it done all the way to Game 7 of the World Series. And the other change that I don't know how much we've talked about this year is Don Mattingly departs. And he made some comments, not inflammatory comments, but he commented when he departed Toronto that as the year developed, he didn't feel as necessary on the coaching staff as he did before. So he leaves, and I wonder if his presence on the coaching staff was really important. Because John Schneider got all the praise last year when everything was going well. But I wonder if having that accomplished hitter in Mattingly on the bench as kind of more the good guy coach, not the head boss. I wonder if his clout of his playing career mixed with his experience as manager in the past, I wonder if that had a lot to do with the whole team, starting with the Stars, buying into the team offensive approach that they had last year, because 2024, they didn't have it. Last year, after about a month, it clicked. This year, it fell apart. So I wonder if not having Don Mattingly has had a huge negative effect with the team maybe just not buying into what's being sold. So, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it's there's a few things to unpack here. I'll start with Mattingly. Of course, he takes over Philadelphia. The Phillies are uh, they're four back of Atlanta for the NL, but they're likely in a playoff spot, but they certainly looked a lot better considering the start that they had. Um, Probably not coming back to Philly next year, but certainly that he's had that influence. Um, with the just to bring this to the Mariners for a quick second, one of the things that I think maybe would have helped Dan Wilson is having a Don Mattingly experienced type of guy with him to help make decisions. I wonder if that is the case in Toronto. I was listening to Tampa during this Tampa Toronto series, and they just made some really interesting comments about the Blue Jays. Just sort of some of the pitching decisions they were made. As an example, on Wednesday night, how long Jeff Hoffman was out was an interesting decision to Tampa. The way that they played defense was very starkly shocking to Tampa. And just well, I'll blend Mattingly with Vlad here today. I know they won, and I you don't always want to criticize during a win, but two out, your best hitter is at the plate in Ernie Clement. You get the 3-1 lead. For some ungodly known reason, Vlad is stealing second. And I'm like, why are you stealing second with Ernie Clement on bat? Let him hit you home. You took an opportunity. There was no reason for that. You took an opportunity to get more runs. You took the bat out of Clement's hand, and he's leading off in the next inning here. And if he hits a home run, that's one run. But it just feels to me, just when you watch the Rays and you watch the Blue Jays, the clear difference is, to put the World Cup into perspective, the Rays are Spain, and it feels like the Blue Jays were Argentina. They feel like they're good, but they feel like they're better than they think that they are, but they're just not playing any fundamental. I mean, you watch them more than I do, but I don't see this Blue Jay team in general, playing sound fundamental baseball offensively, or basic fundamental good defense as well. I think both
Yep.
sides are really disjointed, and I think your
Yep.
point about Mattingly is well taken. I just don't think there's a lot of, like,
And
it's not that Schneider's not an inexperienced, is not like this, is not inexperienced, but I don't know if he's experienced enough to say he doesn't need a Mattingly. Does that make
right,
sense?
right. And another part of this is Bo wasn't a loud personality to the media. You could never really get into his thoughts too much. But we don't know what kind of leader he was in the clubhouse. And that could be a big piece of this too, with the getting everybody to fall in line. I think a guy with the resume of Mattingly on the coaching staff would go a long way, but the best teams have a culture that starts with the players, and that might have run through Bichette. And you're talking about how disjointed and mentally not sharp this team is, and 100% on all sides they're not playing sharp fundamental baseball in any facet this year. Last year they had it all buttoned up. So kind of tying it into a bow, I wonder if those two losses with Bichette and Mattingly, I wonder if those were two of the most important people for getting the rest of the group to fall in line and do it the team way every day. And now that's not there, and it's been much more individualistic this year, and it fell apart.
Yeah. I also don't know if, there's a couple of other couple of other things one other player I want to talk about here. Um, and I do wonder. I don't think that I don't think Ross Atkins should be left off the hook here. I mean, you talked about the Kyle Tucker situation, but like what actually happened as well. He brings in Jesus Sanchez. That certainly has not. I don't think that you could say that that's worked in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
Um, yeah, but there's a guy I there was some people kind of scratching their head in this acquisition and the trade deadline that he got, and I was surprised he didn't play much during the playoffs. And I'm surprised they didn't find a way to keep him, considering you might lose Bill Bichette, considering kind of all of the injuries and what happened with Ty France.
I don't know if a lot happened. I think the plan all along was um, for him to be insurance for Vlad at first base and chip in with at bats here and there. But when it came to the playoffs, he was a bench bat and he was going to leave. I know he had 18 and 20 home runs for the Mariners in 21 and 22, but he hadn't been that guy for 3 years, and I don't think he was seen as that guy. And you have Vlad at first base on a 14-year deal. He's the guy, and you got Springer who can't play the field anymore, so he's your DH. Even if they saw this renaissance coming from France, he's got 16 home runs and he's hitting 275 for the Padres. Even if somebody in the Blue Jays camp saw some of that potential coming, which I don't think they did, I don't think there was ever a world where they were going to be able to keep him. But saying that, I don't think they wanted to keep him because I don't think they saw this coming. Did you? Did you before this happened? Did you think Ty France could come back and do this again?
I honestly thought that that was a lot of people were criticizing that move on, and I was like, why? That guy, I think he can get you a hit or two. I don't think he's that bad of a guy. Like I know he's kind of struggled a little bit for the last couple of years, but that talent is was there. I understand where you're coming from. I think in terms of position wise, um it's just I think it's just kind of what maybe some of this unfortunate. I think when you look at what happened here with the Blue Jays and you see a guy like Ty France and 16 home runs, just maybe you wonder, was there a way? And he doesn't play a lot of other positions, so it's really tough to find a place for him. So I totally get where you're coming from, but I've been thinking it was thinking I watched him and I went, geez, this is interesting where the Blue Jays are at right now, and certainly could use those 16 home runs.
He did start his career with the Padres in 2019, so going back to where it started, sort of, and there's lots of cases in sports where it was just never going to happen in one place, and so a player goes somewhere else where it could happen. I think this is just one of those cases where it was just never going to happen in Toronto. It was never going to have the chance to happen. So the Blue Jays seeing him return to being a bit of a power threat with the Padres, I don't think they're regretting it because that was just never going to even have the chance to happen with them. So
Totally fair. Totally fair. But that was a player I was.
yeah.
I wouldn't. I wonder if Ross Atkins. I think maybe. I think ultimately with Ross and the Blue Jays, I mean, they make the swing for Dylan Cease, they get him. They make the swing for Kyle Tucker, they don't get him. I wonder if maybe trying to find some of those smaller pieces to build a team might have been a more effective way. I'm not saying that don't get me wrong about the Dylan Cease situation. That's right, like that works out, but
Yeah, I think what hung them was they spent so much of their time in the offseason on getting Tucker, and they didn't get him, and then they were left with no other big fish available at that point. And that's kind of sort of back to what I was trying to illustrate before was this team approach that they had last year does work, but you need enough stars. At the end of the day, you do need stars, and they're probably just one star short this year because they subtracted Bichette and they subtracted Barger because he's had 22 at bats this year, and I still maintain that he was he was cementing himself as a legitimate power run producing threat in the middle of the order, and he's been gone all year. So you're down, really, they're down two legit run producers, and that's just not enough. So I don't think it was a problem of needing more team approach guys. I think they need to this offseason. I think they need to bring in at least one more big fish to help Vlad.
yeah, well, looking at Tucker's numbers, he's 236 this year, 7 homers, 48 RBIs.
Yeah, it didn't work for him either.
Yeah. Anything else
Inter-
on the Blue Jays? Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
um, no, we're good. Yeah, Madison Shipman on the
Oh, yeah,
Blue
we should
Jays
talk about her for sure.
on the Blue Jays broadcast crew. She's been part of the television crew for the last 2 years, I want to say, primarily has been on the desk with Jamie Campbell, pre and post game and mid game breaks. On the San Diego road trip, she was the in booth analyst working beside Ben Schulman, and she was the first female to call a Blue Jays game on Sportsnet. That occurred on July 10th, and she worked that whole series in the booth with Ben Schulman. So, congrats to her. She's done a lot of great work with the Jays TV crew in the last couple of years.
Yes, congratulations. I will say this again and again. I know I'm a white male. We need more women in sports broadcasting. I
Yep,
think that is
absolutely.
one of the reasons sports media is struggling in Canada. There is a lack of it, lack of women in a lot of broadcasting chairs. We need more. Um, it's just my opinion. What do I
Absolutely.
know? Okay, let's touch on. I before we move on here. You reminded me. I did want to talk about the Mariners' first round pick as well. They did sign him yesterday. Ace Reese is a third baseman. He is bats left, 6'3", 200 pounds. He was the 24th pick in the draft. They did sign him, and so and he was in Seattle this week. So we'll see what happens with Ace Reese. But you reminded me to talk about him. But we do need to couple quick things here. We'll touch on we have to touch on, I guess, the Boston Red Sox were kind of the big story in baseball for the last little while. They just had a 15-game winning streak franchise record snapped. Um, all of baseball was talking about it. It pushed them. The streak did push them to a playoff spot. They are in the last playoff spot right now. I'm not sure what to make of this Boston Red Sox team. To give them credit, they're doing this without Crochet and Suarez. Credit Chad Tracy. Um, I don't know. Do you think they're for real?
Um, I think they're a lot better than they were before this winning streak. So this is partly correcting back to closer to what people thought they would be. They can pitch for sure, and they've had a couple of young players emerge during the year. Um, yeah, I think this is a legit playoff team, but one thing you have to watch is after teams go on a heater for 2 or 3 weeks, like they didn't lose a game for 3 weeks in that 15 game winning streak because it was broken up by the All Star break. So they lost the back end of a doubleheader. I believe that was today. You got to see how they rebound from finally losing a game. Do they give some of it back, or do they settle into more of a typical pace? But yeah, I think they're pretty good. Um, I I think we're going to end up seeing them in the playoffs.
They play the Blue Jays this weekend, and then they go out to California for Sacramento against the Athletics against, and then against the Dodgers.
And I heard somebody bring up about the Red Sox streak back when the World Cup was going on, and Team Scotland had a game at Foxborough. The Scotland supporters came out to Boston, had a week in Boston, and there was a Sunday night baseball game at Fenway where there was thousands, I don't know if it was 10,000 Scotland fans were at Fenway Park for a Sunday night baseball game, and there's clips all over X. But they basically turned that entire night into one big long sing along, and there was
Yes.
comments after that game from players saying it was one of the funnest nights they've ever had. This win streak roughly coincided with the Scotland takeover game at Fenway. And for a team like when the Blue Jays were there about 3 weeks ago, the Blue Jays TV crew was kind of taking shots at the Red Sox at how bad things were going for them at that point. Maybe something as simple as one wild and crazy fun night just change the mindset a little bit for a couple of days, loosen things up, just let guys forget about what had been going on because the Alex Cora and coaching staff firing was not that far in the rearview mirror at that point. Maybe that just changed the mindset for a couple days, and they took it and ran from there. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they have to tip their cap to the Scotland soccer fans.
Well, they had okay, so they swept the Yankees that a week. That was a 4 game sweep of the New York Yankees. They do lose. They won 5 in a row with the Yankees and then the Nationals. Then they lose two, and then they go on the road. What that was on the road that started that winning streak in Anaheim against the Angels. So that started the 15 game winning streak. But it's really, you look at them, they're 20-3 in their last 23 games. So um, yeah, you wonder. Yeah, the Yankee sweep, Scotland drinking Boston dry. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, Scotland and Norway were a lot of fun in Boston during the World Cup. Um, both of those countries had a lot of fun there. So,
But
uh,
yeah, I mean, for real though, I mean, the Red Sox can pitch, and that'll give them a chance.
yeah, yeah, they can. We'll see. It's yeah. Well, it's such a wild and crazy AL right now. You never. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens there. Let's talk about the weekend in Philadelphia. We're a couple of weeks away. We had the new home run derby. Was on Netflix. Um, with Netflix, Jonathan, this is the way that I look at Netflix. They are there to promote Netflix.
Yeah.
I think that the people just need to understand that um, this is like you see with Raw. You see it on the pay-per-views. They make sure that there's Netflix stars that are going to be there. See it in the NFL game, the Christmas games they've had the last couple of years, and Netflix stars are there. Saw that again with the pregame celebration or ceremonies with the home run derby. I feel like I think everybody is critical of everything on social media, but if you understand that Netflix is there to promote Netflix, I think that you'll find yourself enjoying the Netflix project a little bit more understandable. Um, if that makes sense, I don't know.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Um, I wasn't able to watch. It was during the Okotoks tournament. But yeah, so I can't really comment on the presentation of it. But what did the adjusted format look like? Do you think it helped? Because I thought when I heard the adjustment to the format, I thought it was going to help. But what did it look like to
I,
you?
it made for an incredible, compelling final with Kyle Schwarber and Jordan Walker. And the star, the MVP of the home run derby was without question the fans who like booed Wilson Contreras to the degree, and he just embraced it. He just embraced it, which was so fun. Um, like they were cheering every swing that was out here that was not a home run. They were cheering every home run. They booed. It was fantastic. The Philly crowd was just incredible. But to get to the final, it was down to Kyle Schwarber and Jordan Walker. And Schwarber gets to 18, and I think it's 18, and they're like, it's over. And Jordan Walker walks it off in Philly.
Yeah,
I thought it was just a compelling ending. And so, yeah, I think this format is here to stay. Um, I think the two key things is if you get the 20 swings, you get the home run on your last swing, 20, 15, 10. You get the home run on your last swing, you keep going until you don't have another home run. So yeah, I think it was more compelling than the time part. And yeah, the fans were outstanding. It was a lot of fun. So and then the All Star game was a strikeout fest for both teams, and the AL comes away with the win. Cody Bellinger was the MVP, and Dylan Cease got the start for the American League. And yeah, the All Star game wasn't much, but the home run derby I think was really compelling.
yeah, and that's the important part, right? Is that you're engaging fans. Fans are having fun with it. Find a way to make it compelling. And that's what I was hoping the new format was going to bring, because the clock format to me was just way too rushed, and you couldn't TV audience anyway couldn't appreciate it, and it felt really scrambled. So that's good to hear that it came off well and fans seem to enjoy it. So yeah, that's what All-Star games are about, is um, you know giving the fans what they want to see. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, yeah, I thought the home run derby was really good. Anything else we need to discuss?
I think I'm good. I'm just gonna take a peek on what's ahead. Although the games don't mean a whole heck of a lot for the Blue Jays anymore. I think there's 6 games out of the wild card, something close to that, and They have Kevin Gausman already opening up to reporters about him contemplating that this his last start could have been his last start in Toronto, and he was seen sitting on the turf at an empty Rogers Center with his wife long after the game. And now you have Shane Bieber pitching the game of his life today because he's showcasing himself. So yeah, I can do the Blue Jays look ahead, but I'm not sure how much the wins and losses mean at this point. I think August 3rd is the big look ahead date. But the Blue Jays now are off on a road trip to Fenway Park. We just talked about it. 3 there and 3 at the Washington Nationals before they come home to play the Cardinals. So the Jays are on the road for a couple series.
As are the Mariners. Of course, we talked about the 4-game set against the Rangers and then the 3 against the Dodgers, and then home on August 3rd, which is a Monday for the trade deadline. They have that 3-game series against Minnesota. So that is what's going to happen with the Mariners. So, all right. How do we follow everyone? We'll leave it here.
Yeah, so if you want to follow us individually, if you're watching us right now, you can see our handles on the screen. I am Haji Speaks on X and Instagram, and Kevin, you are you can give yours.
KEVOLE.
And refreshing our page sites again, we're on all the socials. Out of Left Field or Out of Left Field podcast on X. We are Out at LF Pod. That's Instagram as well. The episodes live on YouTube, and we share our full episodes as well as segments of our episodes on our socials. We're on Facebook as well, Substack, and all the places. So yeah, if you're consuming this episode, you have likely found us through Facebook or X, posting our links on there. That I think will hit. It'll probably be Friday when you're seeing this episode. So yeah, give us a follow on there. We post our episodes and try to sprinkle in some other content as well. So we'd love to have you along for the ride with us.
Yes, please join us. And thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.